Assalamu alaikum India, good morning India, Sat Sri Akal India. Welcome to the show She Speaks at 10. Wishing you all a very happy Lodi. Now this show is a laudable initiative of Ambara Foundation which is committed to promote gender equality by bridging gender gap and empowering women. One of the essential components of Ambra Foundation is empowering women by providing them a platform where she can open up about her mental distress, about her turmoils, and about other concerns of her life. And Ambra Foundation does it through its flagship project, She Speaks. The toll free helpline number of She Speaks is 1 800 833 2300. I repeat, the toll free helpline number is 1 800 833 2300, which is available from Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Now, before I start speaking about my journey, let me at the outset extend my heartfelt thanks to Vinita Sharma Bakshi, founder of Ambra Foundation, for giving me an opportunity to share my story. Vinita, as I know her, is a multifaceted personality, a social entrepreneur, educator, international speaker, and an author. Her book, 31 Miles, has received rave reviews, and I am looking forward to read it. Now, coming to my story. Why do I want to share my story? I want to share my story not because it has been extraordinary or it has been exceptional, but because, in spite of being very ordinary, I mustered courage to do the things which were right. I mustered courage to overcome my shortcomings. I mustered courage to be where to be here today. So that's why I want to share my journey, because maybe many of you will identify with the journey that I'm going to talk about. Many of you might get the courage to take the decisions that I have taken, and many of you might feel that there's something I have to offer through the discussion on my journey. So let me present the screen to you because I have made a very small presentation. Give me a minute. I hope everyone can see the screen. Yeah. So this is what I'm going to speak today about: my journey and my metamorphosis. So my journey, life journey, and how I metamorphosized to the way I am today is a story which spans over three different periods. And why I'm going to tell you about my journey is because, as Maya Angelou said, that there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. So there are some untold things which I'm going to divulge today through this presentation of mine. And as far as my professional designation is concerned, I am professor in the Department of Electronic Science, Kurukshetra University, Kurukshetra, and also I am the coordinator of the incubation center. Anybody who wants to reach me for any professional advice, or maybe if I'm of help in personal capacity, also can reach me through my email ID anureka@kuk.ac.in. So now let's start with the journey. Now, if I consider the timeline, then my journey can be divided into these four periods. Now, the period from birth till 1993, when this is the period post pre-marriage period, where I was studying and I was a happy-go-lucky caterpillar munching on the leaves on the mulberry bush, not thinking of anything, just into studies. I was a very good sports person, and I always loved to read, and I always wanted to do science. Science was something which came naturally to me. Science was something which excited me. Science was something which I always thought about. I was very inquisitive by nature. I was very curious about knowing the things. And as I grew up, as so my father was a non-commissioned officer in Air Force. Therefore, I had the opportunity to travel around India and had the schoolings in best of the schools, Kendra Vidyalayas, and that way I had the opportunity to intermingle with the people from different cultures, and that widened my horizon. I could think beyond gender, I could think beyond the caste, I could think beyond the color. Okay, so that was the training I went through as a child. So, and also since I'm fortunate to be born in a family where education precedes over everything and anything. So it was always the atmosphere which encouraged, whether it was a girl or a boy, to have good education. So for me, my transformation as a child was that I always wanted to study science. I always wanted to do something in science. And as I grew up, the first story I read in my class was that of Madame Marie Curie. And that story actually ignited something in me, and I wanted to be a nuclear physicist. And since I was always inclined towards reading, so what happened was that I started reading about the nuclear physicist, and I read about Dr. Satish Dhawan. That is when I thought that, okay, when I grow up, I'm going to do nuclear physics and I'm going to apply for BARC. So you can imagine that how passionate I was about science, that this thing came into my mind when I was a teenager, that I want to be a nuclear physicist. And I was so focused in my approach towards science or towards studies that I did my BSc in non-medical, and after that I did my MSc physics, and I have been a merit holder. I was a good student, and so I was a rank holder throughout in the school. Either I was a first ranker or I was a second ranker, but I never went below the third. I never had a third rank. It was either a first rank or a second rank. In BSc also, I was sixth in merit in the entire university. So that is all the colleges combined together. I stood sixth in merit, and in when I did MSc physics, I was awarded the gold medal for in MSc physics. And as the things would be, everything was working in my favor. So I applied for the post of scientist B, which I always wanted to be, because at our time we didn't have much job options. So the only option was to either be a teacher or to apply for the government job, because we didn't have many MNCs coming into India. So it was to apply for the job of the scientist, and the scientist was something I wanted to be. So I applied for the job of a scientist in Nuclear Science Center. Delhi Nuclear Science Center had come up very recently in 1988, and that was, I think so, the first recruitment of Nuclear Science Center. And I know that was the best ever interview I gave in my life. And we had a written test, and after the written test we had an interview. From the written test, they selected about 55 students who were to be interviewed, and they had to take about 5 students out of those 55. So while I was being interviewed, I somewhere knew that I would make it. I would make it. And I was one of the girls out of the 5 students who were selected to be the scientist for Nuclear Science Center. Okay, so this is the caterpillar story. So a happy-go-lucky caterpillar going from here and there, having much to eat, not bothering about anything, and everything is just going fine. And in 1989, also I had another opportunity which boosted up my self-confidence. I was one of the topper students who were special guest to the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, and we had the opportunity to be his guest and to be in the VVIP enclosure and watch the Republic Day parade. So what I mean to say over here is that during this time period, the gender thing never came into my mind. I just thought that I was good at the studies, therefore I was getting these opportunities. The gender thing was never in my mind. And it was only because I just thought that, okay, I'm as good as anybody, any student. So it was basically student. It was not the boy student or a girl student. It was just a student. So I just thought, okay, I'm good at it. So I'm getting this opportunity. So what happened was that this opportunity of my nuclear science center, the opportunity of being a scientist in nuclear science center, it came to an halt abruptly because of some unavoidable circumstances which didn't allow me to join on the designated date of joining, and the opportunity went out of hand. So the opportunity, so this, we say there is many a slip between cup and lip. So I had the appointment letter, but at the end of the day, I was not the part of the organization where I strived to be, where I dreamt to be. So this was one of the first jolts that I had experienced in my life. After that, I was not left with any opportunity because I had not applied anywhere. So I didn't know what to do. I underwent a sort of depression. For 15 days, I just didn't speak. I told my parents, I don't want to continue my study. My dream has been shattered. I don't want to do anything. I just don't want to study. Like I could not bear the loss of a job, or a dream, or a shattering of a dream. So after 15 days, I don't know what, something happened. I was just thinking, I thought कुछ नहीं करने से तो अच्छा है मैं कुछ करूं. So then I took admission in MTech. I did my MTech in Electronics and Communication from NIT Kurukshetra. That was not something which I wanted, but still I did, because I didn't want to stay idle. And I did my MTech from Electronics and Communication Engineering. And after that, I appeared for an interview of lectureship in 1990. I was the only woman to appear for the interview. So there were around 14 males, and I was the only girl. I was the youngest of the lot to appear for the interview. And I cracked the interview, and I was the youngest faculty to be recruited in the Department of Electronic Science, and a woman. At that time also, I didn't realize the gender angle. For me, it was just a lecturer who happens to be a woman. So gender angle was not there at that time also. So maybe it was not there in my mind. So after that, after 1990, when I joined the department, teaching or research has always been my passion. So I took to teaching like fish takes to water. Then obviously, for any Indian parent, marrying off the child is a dream, and especially a girl who is financially independent. My parents started pestering me for marriage, and they found a suitable groom for me, and I got married in 1993. So the phase till 1993 was that of a happy caterpillar, not knowing the world, not knowing where the world is going to take the caterpillar. And after 1993, somehow I came to know that my uh, intelligence, my accomplishments, my standing are of no value in this society. The only, after marriage, the only purpose I have is to be, I should be a very good cook. I should be able to please everyone. I should be able to wear a child. I don't have any choices. So this is what happened after 1993. After an year, my daughter was born, and she was born with a congenital heart problem, which required her to undergo a very complicated surgery. And many of you might be knowing that in 1994, the law was passed that sex determination is illegal. And before that, or even when the law was passed that it is illegal to undergo sex determination, still a lot of sex determination tests were being held. So the first time I mustered up courage and I took stand for myself, and I took stand for myself as a woman, was when I said a no to sex determination. And let me tell you, let me share, it requires a lot of courage to say so when you are in a traditional Indian family marriage setup. After that, when, as I told you, a society in which I'm talking about, a society because it is a society at large. Okay, I'm not, it is not a blanket statement, but most of you will agree that it is society at large which treats the girl child that way, and that too in north. I belong to Punjab, and especially in Punjab. So when my daughter was diagnosed with the congenital heart problem which required open heart surgery, I didn't get support, the required support of my family at that time, my in-laws family at that time, who thought that operating upon a girl child will scar her for her life and she will not have a good life. She might not, it might not be good for her. That was when I took a stand and I literally went against them to get her operated upon. And yes, I did receive a lot of help from one of my friends, to whom I will always be indebted, because of her I received the medical advance. And today on this platform, I would like to thank her by divulging her name. She is Dr. Sunita Puthania, who was the professor of history at that time in our university, and she helped me by by getting a resolution passed to the EC, which allowed for medical advance. So thank you, Dr. Pathania, for helping me out. And why I'm saying this, because if you want to raise a strong woman, if you want to give a voice to the woman, then another woman has to support the women. So we women first have to support each other. Okay, so I went against the family to get my daughter operated upon, and that led to the unpleasant situation of divorce. My this stand of mine led to divorce, and then in the year 1993 onwards, I just, though I was brave enough, though I took a stand to get my daughter operated upon, but still I was not sure of myself. I was not confident of myself. I was in a state of self-loathing. I was in the state of self-pity. I was in a state where I was undergoing a lot of emotional turmoil, lot of mental turmoil, that whether what I'm doing is right or not, whether this is what is expected of a woman, because this is how we are brought up. We are brought up to please everyone. We are brought up to do what we are dictated upon by our husbands. We are brought up to be good to our in-laws. So I was self-loathing. I was thinking, okay, मैंने adjust नहीं किया, मैं अच्छी बहू नहीं हूँ, मैं like so these all thoughts came into my mind, and I went into my shell. So I went into my shell during this period. It was literally a cocoon. I was literally into a cocoon. I had made a shield around myself, a shield where I would share only with few people. I would be in a lot of self-pity mode. I always thought that I'm not a, I could not be a good wife. I have adjustment problems. So it was always finding faults with myself. मेरे से ये नहीं होता, मेरे से वो नहीं होता, मैं इसमें अच्छी नहीं हूँ, मैं उसमें अच्छी नहीं. So these were the things which went into my mind. And so this phase of mine was not a very pleasant phase, but still I went on. Still amidst a lot of self doubt, one thing which I did was that I was honest to my profession. I did my teaching properly. I tried to grow in my constraints, because my biggest constraint was taking care of my daughter all alone. And at that time, we didn't have the child care leave also. So that was a challenge. That was a struggle that I went through. And while I was going through this struggle, having built a cocoon around me, I didn't stop my studies. Whatever in within my constraints, whatever I could do as far as my professional growth was concerned, whatever little could I do. I could not do much during this period, but whatever little I could do, I did with lot of Elaine. I did it with lot of commitment. And one thing which I never was careless about was about taking my classes sincerely, about doing science sincerely. And during this period, in 1998, I got the opportunity to go to ICTP Italy, for upgrading my skills in the field of microprocessors and microcontrollers. And then after that, I was not in a position to carry on my PhD, because it is a very time consuming process, and my daughter's health was not allowing me to take up that responsibility. So I did not get enrolled in PhD. So during this time period, when my professional growth was suffering, when I was not in a position to do my further studies or grow further, I had to answer very uncomfortable questions of many of the scientists, many of the professors who would visit the department and would ask me, आपने अभी तक PhD क्यों नहीं की, आपका मन नहीं किया, why you have not completed your PhD, you are not serious about the studies, you are not serious about your professional growth. So I had to answer all these uncomfortable questions to the people who didn't even know who I am, and who didn't even know were the obstacles, or what were the hurdles which were holding me behind. So in 2002, I got selected. In between, I got opportunity for doing PhD at Adelaide University, Australia, but that I forego myself, because the fellowship was not enough to support my daughter. So I didn't go. That was the decision I took on my own. And then in 2002, I got the opportunity to do PhD at IIT Roorkee, but again, because of some administrative reasons, I could not take that opportunity. So what I want to tell through this journey till now of mine is that one should, if you cannot run, you walk. If you cannot walk, you crawl. But whatever be the case, don't stop moving. Keep moving. So, though there were many hurdles, though I missed many opportunities, which were not in my control, but I didn't. Yes, I did have my low moments. I did feel low many at times, but again I bounced back, because when you hit rock bottom, the only way is way up. So that's why what I firmly believe in, that when you hit the rock bottom, the only way is way up. So I mustered up courage, and again I started. I slowed down, I stopped, I contemplated, I cried, I screamed, but I didn't stop. I didn't stop growing. Even if that was crawling, I didn't stop growing. Even if it was resting for a while, I didn't stop growing. So after IIT Roorkee, I was only left with with the um, only one option. The option was to do my PhD in from Kurukshetra University itself. So in 2002, I started doing the literature survey, and in 2005, so after 2 or 3 years after having done the literature survey, after getting enough courage that I can do it, because actually I was in a lot of self doubt, lots of self doubt, that whether I will be able to do it or not, whether I have it in me or not, because it was a long gap of around 12 to 13 years after my MTech, and so I was not sure that I will be able to do further studies or not. So in 2005, I registered for my PhD when my daughter was in fifth standard, and I completed my PhD in 2008 end in December. And then for next 4 years, I planned that what will I be doing after my daughter has completed her 12th. So in the year 2012, I started planning for postdoc, because I wanted to uh, go to some of the best labs, because that I couldn't do because of my circumstances. So in 2000, so I started planning for my career after 2012, from 2012, and in 2014 I applied for a very prestigious fellowship, which is Schlumberger Faculty for the Future Program Fellowship, and I made it through. That is a very competitive fellowship, which is open from September to November every year. And that fellowship is given to any women in STEM from developing countries for either doing PhD or for the post PhD work, postdoc work in any of the labs in the world. But it is very competitive. So to tell you the level of competition, the year in which I was selected, there were about 600 applicants from 30 countries in STEM. STEM means science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and they selected only 84 of them. So in 2014 September, I went to Tyndall National Institute, Ireland, which is one of the premier labs of European Union, and I worked there for 1 year, and that gave me immense courage. That lifted my self-esteem. That gave me the confidence that yes, I can do it. That gave me the confidence that yes, I have some talent. That gave me the confidence that even if late, at least I didn't stop. It gave me the confidence. It is better late than never. Okay, so that was the one of the best phase of my life as far as the research was concerned, and that strengthened my wings. So in 2014, my wings strengthened to take me to a flight which I always wanted to do. So, and after I returned home in 2015, and in 2015 I became the chairperson of my department. That was again a very challenging thing for me, and that is, and through this journey, when I started my journey as a lecturer, and through this journey till 2014, I started experiencing what is referred to as a gender bias. It was not very prominent in nature, but very subtle in nature. In very, so I could sense the gender bias which was there, prevailing in the educational institutes. So after, so, and this period also, because of whatever I was experiencing or whatever was happening, especially in sciences around me, that resulted in my interest in studying about the gender aspect in science. And I started studying few of the papers. I started studying, I started going through the literature which mentioned that why science is difficult for the women, what type of barriers women feel in science. Then I went through few of the TED talks. I listened to the TED talk by Shirley Sandberg, the CEO of Facebook. Then I went through her book, The Lean In. Then I went through few of the Stanford studies where they have done the studies on how the gender bias affects the women researchers in science. How the women are treated differently when it comes to publications, when it comes to grants, when it comes to giving them the opportunity to work. And so I got interested in all these things for women in STEM. And while I was chairing the department, I, along with few of my colleagues I'm thankful to them also. So when women colleagues, we organized the first ever workshop for, for challenges and opportunities for women in STEM in the state of Haryana. So this was the first ever workshop which was organized by any university, and that too by the women faculty. So the women faculty of our university came together to organize the workshop on opportunities and challenges for women in STEM, in which Professor Ashutosh Sharma was the chief guest, Professor Rohini Godbole was the guest of honor, and we saw 169 participants participating in this two-day workshop, and we deliberated on the challenges and the opportunities that the women face, and the recommendations of that workshop was sent to the DSC secretary and also to the vice chancellor. So, and you will be, and I'm happy to note, and all of you will be happy to note that the Science and Technology Innovation Policy 2020, it focuses on gender parity in science by considering that women, the contribution of women in science is as important to the contribution of men in science, because science does not discriminate between the gender. The intelligence does not discriminate between the gender. So, but because of the societal setup, we have some challenges. The women face some challenges, and our policies should be such that they are able to take up those challenges in a better way. So we have to be facilitators. So the policies at the universities and also at the national level have to be the facilitators, so that women are able to contribute effectively, because societal barriers are difficult to plug within a short span of time. They take ages to get plugged. So that was the workshop that we conducted. So, and after that, after my chairpersonship was over, I applied for the INSA Visiting Scientist program, and I got selected in for doing my research at IISc Bangalore, where I went in the year 2019. And I am on my path to fly bit higher and higher. So I have been now made the coordinator of the incubation center of the university, and I am learning new nuances. So this also has been a challenge for me, because I was not knowing much about the innovation or incubation policies and all. So I, along with my team, so I have made the new startup policy. And so in 2014, my wings have become stronger. I am on my path to fly, and I'm getting stronger and stronger every day. So now the gist of this metamorphosis is that I started as a very timid, unsure girl, who just knew that she wanted to study, who knew she wanted to study science, but she didn't have the courage to, for so many things which she never anticipated she will have to face. And slowly and slowly she metamorphosized into a butterfly. And if I can do so, I don't think so my journey has not been exceptional. It is very ordinary journey, and it might have been the journey of so many other girls also, which who might have faced the gender bias, who might have faced difficulties. For me, those difficulties were compounded because I was a divorcee also. So, unfortunately, our men are not sensitized, or even the women are not sensitized that marriage, etc., marital status is not something which is to be talked about when professional accomplishments are concerned. But unfortunately, whenever we have a woman who is doing well, her marital status also is talked about. So I think so. It is high time that we women ourselves, we women who are mother, sensitize our own sons to be bit more sensitive to the girls, to be respectful to the girls. Unfortunately, when we are raising a daughter, we put a lot of we tend to control our daughter. We tend to tell her, no, don't do this, don't do that. You won't be a good, you won't be considered a good girl. But we never tend to. I'm sorry, I'm saying this never. Uh, but in most of the cases, we don't tend to tell our sons, no, this is not right, you are not, this is not, will not be tolerated. We give absolute freedom to our sons, but we tend to control our girls. Even now, when my daughter is in a so-called marriageable age, though I don't believe there is anything as such as marriageable age, because I think whenever a girl wants to get married, she should get married legal age, when it comes to the legal age. So when she's in the marriageable age, there are many educated women who say that इतना बोलना नहीं चाहिए, don't in-laws बुरा मान सकते हैं, things like that. But why it's always about in-laws? But why it's not about the girl's accomplishment? Why it's not about what a daughter wants to do? Why it's not about her career? Why it's not about her choices? So I think so making choices in the life are very important, because choices are always personal choices, and the choices which don't hurt anyone should be allowed to make. So now next, let me tell you that in this journey, what kept me going. Now, since I had my own trials, I had my own tribulations, I had my own self-doubts, I had my own hurdles to cross. What kept me going was my blog. So this is my blog. My blog, whenever I used to feel low, I used to write. And this is my blog, and my blog's title itself is Never Say Die. Because, you know, what you tell your brain assimilates that. Your brain starts feeling about that. So everything is in mind. So when I said Never Say Die, I got a strength to overcome the challenges. I got the strength to not give up the fight. I got the strength to, so it was like playing mind games on myself. So I used to write, and then you'll see that I used to write with ever hopeful. So I never gave up hope. So the blog, so whenever I used to feel very low, I used to write the most positive things on my blog, and that kept me going. Next, next is I used to read a lot of motivational quotes, and I used to read about the struggle of some famous people. So name the few from globally, the famous people like Walt Disney, then Charlie Chaplin, then Maya Angelou, then at home, if you see, you have got Arunima Sinha, you have got Srinath Shrikant Bola. So Shrikant Bola is the blind person who got admission in MIT and but was denied admission in India IITs, and he went on to establish a startup which employs about 75% of the differently abled people. He is based in Hyderabad. So I used to read about the trials and tribulation of the people who didn't have the life which is so called the smooth life, and still they were able to overcome the challenges and go up to and achieve something which was considered unachievable. Then my friends and family, then I'm a bit concerned about fitness, my never say die attitude, and I am a movie buff. So these were the things which kept me going. Now, there are some quotes which, whenever I feel low, so these are some things which I believe in. So, first is don't stop dreaming. So, dreams, as Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam says, dreams is not what you see in sleep, it is the thing which does not let you sleep. So, to do well in my career was something which did not let me sleep, which did not let me stop. Then a journey of 1,000 miles must begin with the single step. Yes, you have to take a single step, whether it is a single step of walking out of the marriage, whether it is a single step of taking stand for your daughter, whether it is a single step of enrolling in a PhD. One has to take a single step. And okay, if you're different, no worries, because when you are different, you make a difference. Then one of the poems which I really like when I feel very lonely, when I feel very low, is Akla Chalore. It inspires me, it fills me with a lot of confidence. So this is the original version, and this is the translation of this poem. Then these are my adventures. So at the age of 50, this is the gift I gave myself. I did skydiving. Skydiving was a gift to myself at the age of 50. So don't wait for somebody else to give you gifts. Make yourself capable of gifting yourself, of realizing your dreams. So this is the message. Then the next year, I went for paragliding at Birbiling. I am into long distance running. So till now, I have participated in 10-kilometer runs, and I am aiming at 22 kilometers on my 55th birthday, that is next year. So that is how I challenge myself. That is how I keep myself self happy. Then these are a few of the photographs of my journey, my metamorphosis, and these are the trips abroad. So while I was in my cocoon and not doing much as far as research is concerned, still I applied for ICTP Trieste, Italy, and I was there for 1 month. After that, for my research work, I presented a paper at Santa Clara, USA. Then I went to Ireland in 2014-15. Then Indonesia 2017 as one of the alumni of Schlumberger Foundation, and we deliberated upon the challenges women face in the field of STEM. And then as INSA visiting scientist at IIC Bangalore in 2019, and the journey is still not over. And my mantra is that I want to die a better version of myself. So I am improving day by day. I am growing day by day. My wings are becoming stronger day by day, and not only I'm making my life full of colors, but yes, as butterfly is a sight to behold, therefore I think so I am contributing some colors to the life of the people around me also. So this was the initiative, the first ever workshop of opportunities and challenges for women in STEM. This is how I contribute to encouraging women, girls, and women to take up science. So this is the one of the events in which I was told to inspire the girls of ITI, and I had really good experience. And then this is the Chetna organization, the NGO with which I am associated, which caters to the education of the underprivileged children who come from very poor families. And I also dedicate this talk to one of my professor friends, Dr. Manjusha Sharma, who was one of the pillar of Chetna, and we lost her about a month ago. With this, I thank you all, And the only thing I have to say is embrace your struggles and go for greatness. Thank you.